Good morning, guys. Can somebody please confirm if my voice is audible? Thank you so much, Avinash and Rachna. Great. So today we are going to discuss about something called as building apps powered by generative AI. This is a webinar hosted by Innomatics Research Labs, and my name is Kanav Bansal. I work as a CTO at this organization. In this session, what we are going to do is we are going to learn a little bit about generative AI, and at the same time, we'll also understand how to build apps using generative AI. Cool. So how many of you joined the last session? You remember on 22nd, some of you must have definitely joined the session on 22nd as well. And in that session, we did something amazing, right? We learned about something interesting. We learned about some nice ideas on machine learning, as well as we also learned about something called as generative AI. So if you have already joined, can you tell me what generative AI is? Can you help me understand what generative AI is? Anyone? If you have already joined, can you tell me what generative AI is? Quick. ChatGPT is an example, right? It is just an example of an app that is generated, that is powered by generative AI. All right. So we are going to today learn about something called as how to build apps powered by generative AI. And ChatGPT is one of those apps which are powered by generative AI. Let me erase this. So we are saying that ChatGPT is just an app, one of the apps which is powered by generative AI. Yes, GenAI is a subdomain of AI, but that doesn't help me understand the definition of AI, of GenAI, right? What is the definition of GenAI? That is the question. Yes, correct, Aryan. So everybody, please try to have a look into the solution given by Aryan. Just give me a second. I think I just mentioned what needs to be done. Cool. So what I was mentioning was about what generative AI is, right? This was the question, what is generative AI? And the good answer to that is an AI which is basically which is capable of generating AI, which is, see, when I say gen here means generative, which is capable of generating human-like text, images, audio or speech, and videos, right? So this is what is meant by generative AI. Can you remind me what is the difference between generative AI and the classical AI techniques that we used to have? See, generative AI is something which is new, but before generative AI, we had lots of classical AI techniques, right? Classical AI or traditional AI techniques. What we used to do in these classical or traditional AI techniques, anyone who knows about this, we already discussed that as well in the last session. Yes, correct, Tarun. So what we used to do in classical AI techniques was we used to do something called as given a data point, like in simple terms, AI in that situation, in that case, was responsible to categorize, or it used to basically do the prediction. Yes, correct. Also known as classification and regression, right? So classical AI, we already studied that. It used to help us do classification and regression. Now, before we proceed forward, how many of you are coming for the first time in this session? Can I quickly know about that? How many of you are coming for the first time in this session? All right, so there are many people. So can you please do one thing really quick? Can you please fill up, see on the right-hand side, I've given a QR code. All right. Using this QR code, please make sure that you fill this, like scan the code, fill the form so that you can claim your certificate and recording towards the end of this session. Okay. So that is the reason why I've kept it over here so that we can save some time instead of explaining about it unnecessarily. All right. So let me quickly have a look into the stats of this session. Looks like most of you are, let me share my screen and show you as well the stats. Is everybody able to see the pie chart? Is everybody able to see the pie chart? So this is as per the data collected. As per the data collected, what do you think is the majority educational qualification? Majority of us, we belong to which educational qualification? Yes, looks like B.Tech, right? What is the second most common educational qualification? Looks like M.Tech or MCA, BSc, right? So these looks like the second most common educational qualification. Similarly, what about the field of study? Which field of study do you think is the most common among the audience? Yes, looks like computer science. And the second most common, what is the second most common field of study? Electrical. Perfect. If you see, electrical is in this orange color, and 10% of individuals, 10% of participants, they belong to electrical domain. Yes, Shiva, I'll show you that in few minutes. Just give me few minutes. I'll come to that. Now, what do you think about the current status of most of the people who have joined the session? Are they working, or are they freshers, or are they pursuing education? What do you think? Are they currently working? Most of them, most of you, are you working, pursuing education, or are you freshers looking for jobs? Yes, most of us, we are freshers looking for jobs, right? And what is the most common number of work experience we have? Looks like most of us, we don't have any work experience at all, which was quite obvious from the previous analysis as well, right? So if you are from data science background, or if you know a little bit of data science, you must remember, you must know that these are various different univariate plots I am showing you in front of you. Yes or no, right? You must be knowing about that. What do you think about the Python programming skill for most of the individuals in this group? What can you think, or what do you think about the Python programming skills? Yes, most of us, we are intermediate. We are rating ourselves as an intermediate Python programmer. Similarly, what do you think about the machine learning skill? Most of us again think that we are intermediate, right? What about the generative AI skill? Most of us, we think we are beginners, correct? Everybody understood how the distribution of participants in this webinar is? So can we now push towards the main topics for today's session? All right. Can you please remind me what is the topic for today's discussion? What are we learning today? We are learning to build generative AI applications, or we are going to learn how to build apps which are powered by generative AI. What is the most popular app powered by generative AI that we use on a day-to-day basis? ChatGPT. Perfect. Do you all agree with that? ChatGPT is like a conversational agent, which is the most popular out there. We use an app which we use, which is powered by generative AI. Now, I don't know how many of you, as of now, from this analysis, I'm unaware of how many of you actually attended the last session. So what I want to do is, I want to do a quick revision of whatever we covered in the last session. Can I do that really quick? Can we all do that really quick? The quick revision of the previous discussion. All right. So what I've done is I've done something crazy over here. Let me try to show you that. In order to make you revise the things that we have done in the last session, what I've done is I've written a code. All right. Let me show you that code. Let me know once the screen is visible. Is my screen visible to all of you? Yes, perfect. So what I will show you now is, I'll show you a Jupyter notebook. All right, I'll show you a Jupyter notebook. Is there a way to access the recording of the last session? I think if you are attending this session, we would have definitely shared you the recording of the previous session. Can somebody please confirm that? Did you receive the recording of the previous session? Yes. In case if you didn't receive the recording of the previous session, please make sure you scan the QR code that was shown to you, and please make sure that you submit the form also, fill the form also. But in any case, like in any of the cases, even if you have attended the past session or not, this session will make sense to you. You just have to make sure that you like focus on what I'm going to teach you now. Is that fine? So in this Jupyter notebook, I'm just going to cover what was discussed in the last session. Can we do that now? I won't be explaining the code to you, but what I really want to show you is, do you see some data here? Do you see some data here in this folder? I will show you the QR code in a few minutes. Just give me some time. Let me first conclude what we discussed in the last session, okay? Everybody sees the folder data here. Can you please, just by looking at this folder, tell me what is there inside this folder? What might be there inside this folder? What do you think is there inside the folder? Yes, maybe it looks like some media, right? Some media data is there inside the folder, yes or no? Is everybody agreeing to that fact? That looks like that there exists some media files inside this folder. So let me try to come to this place. And over here, what I'll do is I'll try to scroll a little down. All right. And I'll try to show you some code implementation. Did I write a lot of code? Can you please tell me whether this entire thing looks like a lot of code or very less code? See, one single line of code, second block of code, third block of code, fourth block of code. And there is some code over here written in the form of function. People who are having a little bit knowledge about Python programming, you might be able to see that this looks like a function that takes in some file, some media file from my computer. Now, what am I doing for this entire data? Can you please tell me what am I doing in this entire, with this data, that the media data that I had in my folder, in my data folder? Yes, I'm trying to do something called as generating transcript. Generating transcript of what? Generating the transcript of my last lecture. The last lecture was navigating the generative AI landscape. You see, with a small little bit of code, I think 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, almost 11 to 12 lines of code, I was able to generate the transcript of my last lecture. You see this? This is the complete transcript of the last lecture. You must remember, people who joined the last lecture, do you all remember that we were discussing about ideas like what is artificial intelligence? You remember I told you that there exists something called as a word artificial, which means nothing but, the word artificial means nothing but, it means man-made. You remember that? This is what I discussed in the last session, and the same transcript is getting generated over here. But what is the duration of the last lecture? What was the duration of the last lecture? The duration of last webinar was somewhere around 2 hours. Do you all agree that the transcript of this 2 hours will be very, very, very long? Yes or no? Do you all agree that it will be very hectic for you to go through the transcript of this entire thing? So what I just did over here, whatever code I've written, this code is going to implement a generative AI model. All right, I'm using a generative AI model, and using the generative AI model, I'm generating text. Do you remember? Generative AI models, or generative AI, is nothing but AI which is capable of generating human-like text. Don't you think this looks like human-like text? I just generated, I'll show you today how to do this, but first try to understand that I just generated the text, the entire transcript of the last lecture. And then after that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this entire transcript and pass it to another function. Can you tell me what is this name, function name? The function name is summary creator. What will this function do? It will simply try to take the entire transcript and it will try to summarize the entire transcript into 5 points. Can you please go through these 5 points? These 5 points are simply talking about artificial intelligence, what it refers to. It is nothing but a man-made intelligence which mimics the natural intelligence. Is this something we discussed in the last session? How many of you agree that this is what we discussed in the last session? What is the next statement? You remember I told you an analogy about artificial satellite. Artificial satellite like NASA, ISRO, like they will be launching these satellites into the space, organizations like NASA, ISRO. And why am I calling these satellites as artificial? Because they are nothing but man-made object which simply performs the same thing that natural satellites do in the space. Similarly, what is a natural satellite? I told you natural satellite is nothing but like moons and planets, and they are naturally occurring celestial bodies which revolve around some planets in the space. And even the artificial satellite, they are trying to mimic the behavior of natural satellite. So can I say artificial intelligence refers to nothing but man-made intelligence that mimics the natural intelligence or the behavior of naturally intelligent beings? Yes or no? Can I say that? Yes. And on top of it, what did I mention? I mentioned that machine learning is nothing but the study of making machines learn from the data or experiences, right? In what will that learning help me do? That learning will help me mimic the natural intelligence, right? So machine learning is the solution to create AI technology. In order to create AI, we have to learn machine learning. In order to create AI, you have to learn deep learning. Everybody understood this? Everybody understood this? Now, whatever you see here is nothing but the transcript of only one chunk. I've broken down the entire lecture into 5 chunks. I've broken down the entire lecture into 5 chunks. And what I've done is I've taken one chunk at a time, and then I'm trying to basically pass each of these chunks to generate the summary of the chunk. If you try to focus over here, if you try to look at this, you remember in the beginning of the workshop, I told you that in this workshop, we are going to navigate through the landscape of generative AI. The second thing I told you during the last session was, in order to start learning generative AI, there are some basics, some prerequisites that you must know. And what were those prerequisites? See, it was able to capture each and every prerequisite for us. The prerequisites were Python programming, libraries like NumPy, Pandas, Matplotlib, Seaborn, and data pre-processing and machine learning using scikit-learn. These were the prerequisites. See, I told you this in the last session, and the generative AI model is able to summarize the entire lecture for me in a way that I can easily understand it. Right? On top of it, I also discussed about that a basic knowledge of machine learning, like supervised machine learning algorithm and unsupervised machine learning algorithm, is also important. And understanding the bare minimum NLP concepts and computer vision concepts are also required. And you remember the word vectorization that we used in the last session? What is the meaning of word vectorization, if you can remember it? What do you remember from the word vectorization? Vectorization means converting non-numerical data to numerical representation. For example, text data will be non-numerical, images will be non-numerical, and if you can convert the non-numerical data to numerical representation, the technique is called as vectorization technique. And for machine learning, it is very important for us to note vectorization technique, right? Because algorithms in machine learning or generative AI or deep learning, all the algorithms in this AI domain, they will only take numerical data because they are nothing but the formulas, mathematical formulas, and mathematical formulas cannot understand non-numerical data. You have to pass numerical representations, and hence vectorization technique or vectorization techniques like have a very high weightage when it comes to learning AI or generative AI. Is this making sense? I want an answer from each and every one of the participants. Are you all able to understand? Like, this summary of first part of our session is super duper easy to understand, right? And I'm not asking you to go through the entire session. This summary is self-explainable, what happened in the last session. Cool. Thank you so much for your reply, guys. Similarly, chunk 2, I already showed you. The chunk 2's summary, I already showed you. The chunk 3 or the part 3 of last session. In that part, we discussed about about machine learning, which is nothing but traditional machine learning, which focuses on generating categorical or numerical output. Whereas in generative AI, we focus on generating output, which is nothing but text, image, video, audio, or speech in nature. Do you all remember that? Right? In traditional machine learning, the models will generate output which are categorical or numerical in nature. For example, let me try to annotate on the screen to make you understand that. If I have a model and if I give an input to this model in traditional machine learning and deep learning, this model will be responsible to generate an output which is either going to be categorical in nature or real numerical in nature. What kind of outputs can be categorical in nature? Maybe given an email, let's say you want to identify whether that email is a ham or a spam. Do you agree this looks like a categorical output? Right. So for this, do you require generative AI or will you do something called as traditional or classical machine learning or deep learning to solve this problem? What are you going to use to solve this problem? Traditional machine learning is more than sufficient enough here, right? Next example, let's say there is a loan application. There is a loan application from a candidate. Now, given a loan application to the model, let's say model is responsible to tell whether the loan should be approved or the loan should be rejected. What will it come under? Again, do you see it is like a categorical output? And hence, since it is a categorical output, I can easily solve it using traditional machine learning. Is this making sense to all? Let me take another example. Let's say there is an image of a person. Let's say there is an image of a person, maybe the face of a person. Given this image to the model should tell whether to keep the phone locked or to unlock the phone. You must have seen your smartphone doing this, right? The phone should either remain locked or it should unlock as soon as it sees the photo of your face, as soon as it sees your face. So what kind of a problem statement is it? Is it a categorical based target value or a generative model based target value? It is a classification model, right? A simple classification model can do that. Image recognition or object recognition you are doing, face recognition you are doing, a simple classification task you are doing here. Are you all able to understand this? Similarly, let's take another example. Let's say somebody fills another application, another loan application. Let's say a person is filling a loan application. The loan application has been filled by the person. The output of the model now is not whether the loan gets approved or rejected. The output of the model is, guys, please, Pradeep, I think you can understand that we can easily backtrack you from your email addresses. And if we can track you from your email addresses, backtrack you from your email addresses or phone numbers, we can also put a report on your names, right? So please make sure that if you are attending the session, try to be decent and try to make sure that you are like following the rules and regulation of these meetings. Your IP addresses can be tracked. And if your IP addresses can be tracked, there are many things we can do from our end. All right. So make sure that you are disciplined and you are listening to the lecture without creating any disturbances. All right. Cool. So let me open up the. All right. So the warning that I gave is in considering that there are so many people spending their time, precious time, understanding all these concepts. We all are spending our time, right? So let's make it productive instead of unnecessarily wasting the time. All right. So what we were discussing was about the loan application again, right? So I told you, let's say if we have another loan application. Now in this case, let's say the model is not supposed to simply tell me whether the loan application gets approved or rejected. Instead, the loan application should tell me how much loan I can get an approval for. Let's say loan amount. is something that I can get as an outcome from the model. Can you tell me, is it a categorical output or a numerical output or a text output? What kind of an outcome do you think is there? Yes, correct, Radhesha. The output looks like numerical in nature. So if the output looks like numerical in nature, what do I use in order to solve this particular problem statement? In order to solve this problem statement, I can use something called as regression, right? Instead of using something like a generative AI, I can use a traditional machine learning algorithm to solve this entire problem. Similarly, let's say if there is some other application, maybe let me try to say there is some home, and somebody gives me the features or the home features. When I say home features, somebody is telling me what is the square footage of the home. Somebody is telling me what is the total number of bedrooms in the home. Somebody is telling me, let's say, what is the locality of the home. Based upon all these features, what my model should do is my model should predict the price of this home. Can you tell me what kind of a problem statement am I solving again? Is it a regression or classification? Again, a regression problem, right? This is again a regression problem since price is a numerical output. This can be solved using regression easily, right? And this is what this entire summary is helping us understand. This summary is helping us understand that traditional machine learning and deep learning focuses on models that generate categorical or numerical output, whereas generative AI focuses on generating the text, image, video, or speech kind of an outcome. Are you all able to understand it? Are you all able to understand it? Yes or no? Now tell me one thing. The code that you see here, what are we doing in the first line? What are we doing in the first line? Do you all agree that I'm trying to use some media file? I'm trying to have some media file. I'm reading the media file, and that media file is getting passed to some model. You see, a media file is getting passed to some function. And this function is trying to create what? This function is trying to create a transcript of this media file, subtitles for this media file. Now, is it a categorical output or a numerical output? What do you think is the type of output here? It is neither the categorical, neither the numerical output, isn't it? This output over here is a text output. You see that? This output here is a text output. So if this output is a text output, what kind of a model should I use here? What kind of a model should I use here? What kind of a model should I use? Yes, perfect. I should use generative AI model. I can't solve this problem using the traditional machine learning algorithms. I have to use something more effective. And in this case, I'll try to use some generative AI based model to solve this problem. What is RB? RB here means nothing but read binary. RB here means read binary. All right, so I'm trying to read this file, right? I'm not writing to this file, I'm trying to read this file. Everybody understood this part? Perfect. Now, how many of you are able to understand this statement? How many of you are able to now understand this statement? Are you all able to understand the point number 5? This is what we discussed in the part 3 of last session. We discussed that generative AI represents a shift toward developing models that are not just limited to predicting the outputs which are categorical or numerical, but also have the ability to create new and diverse output, advancing the field of AI towards more human-like creative capabilities, right? And we have just seen that, right? We just saw that our generative AI models were able to create the transcript, right? There was a model which took audio file, which took a media file, and that media file got converted to a transcript. After converting it to a transcript, can you tell me what am I doing next? I am passing it to another model. This transcript is getting passed to another model. And what is this model helping me do? It is giving me a summary, a 5-point summary is getting generated. Can you tell me what kind of an outcome do you see here? Is it a categorical, numerical, text, image, audio, speech, video? What do you think is the output here? The output here again is text. So what kind of a model should I use here? What kind of a model should I use here? I should use again a generative AI model. Over here again, I should use a generative AI model. Are you all able to understand like what generative AI is capable of doing? It is not just about generating the text outputs. It is also about generating the image outputs. It is also about generating the video outputs. It is also about generating the speech outputs and many more things. All right. So generative AI is simply capable of all these things. And when we dived deep into the last session, we also explored other things like we discussed about various different models. You remember? We discussed about something called as OpenAI's, Google's, and Meta's generative AI models like GPT from OpenAI, Gemini from Google, and Llama from Meta. You see, there is a spelling mistake here. The Llama should be spelled as double L-A-M-A. Yes, you can do that. But for that, you have to do something called as fine tuning. See, Radhesham, the question that you are asking is, it is nothing but another application. You are saying, can we generate an application which can basically do what? Which can generate audio in my voice or in your voice. Definitely you can do that. Definitely you can do that. But that application, you have to remember that this application must be powered by generative AI again. Using generative AI, it can easily be done. All right. Any questions so far? If the count is taken into consideration and gave more importance to more count sentences, okay, I didn't understood the question. Can you please explain or elaborate on that? Apart from this, what did we also understood? You remember we also understood some of the very prominent applications out there. For example, GitHub's Copilot is one of the AI application, generative AI application that can help us do something called as code crafting. Guys, are you all able to understand this? I'll show you the syntax. But first, you try to understand what happened in the last session. All right. What is this? This is nothing but another generative AI application, an application which is powered by generative AI. What it does, it helps you to build websites. This is another application, a very popular application, which helps you do a lot of marketing stuff. There is another application called as ChatGPT, which helps you basically do something called as answers question based upon PDF documentations. Are you all able to understand? Yes, we'll be sharing the recording, Revant. Don't worry about that. Guys, are you all also able to understand the part 4 of the last session? And the last, but not the least, the final part of our session was we discussed about something called as the roadmap of generative AI. You remember, I told you what is the roadmap of generative AI in the last session. And I also discussed about that we are offering a 6-week advanced generative AI course, which will start from July 1st. You see how much information it has captured. It has captured almost every single thing that I discussed in the last session. You see that? Right? It is also helping you understand that in that session, the course that we have to offer, in that session, we are not just going to cover the basics. We'll also try to make you understand how to do fine tuning, how to build line chain based application, how to do something called as generative AI on cloud. That is also the part of our course that we are about to offer from July 1st. And apart from that, we also discussed about that there are going to be techniques like stable diffusion and many more things that are also going to be taught to you during the course that we have to offer. Radhesham, somebody from my team will call you and we'll discuss about that. Everybody understood what we had in the last session? Can we now proceed to the topics for today's session? If this is clear to all of you, we can discuss about some nice ideas for today's session. All right, so let me try to. All right, so the course is paid. Yes, I'll be talking about the offerings towards the end, Keshav. I think that will help others also because Not everyone is here for the course. Let's try to first complete the workshop and then we'll discuss about it. All right. Will that be fine for all of you? Like anything related to the course that we have to offer, let's have the discussion about it towards the end of the session. Will that be fine for all of you? I think that will be in the interest of all of us, right? Let's do that towards the end. Yes, you will be getting the recording of the previous session as well if you are joining this session. When I see, I've already mentioned that people who are going to scan this and fill the form, you will get the certificate for this webinar, and you will also get the recording for this webinar as well as the last webinar. Both the recordings will be shared to you. Will that be helpful? Cool. And the certificates for this webinar will be shared by the end of today itself. Now, I don't want to discuss about certificates and recordings. Can we directly jump into the part where we are going to discuss about the topics for today's session? Let's do that. Perfect. So we just completed the recap of the last session. The last session was titled as Navigating the Generative AI Landscape. And what we learned is, we learned about what are the prerequisites. What are the prerequisites? And if you can remember, the prerequisites were nothing but Python programming, some libraries, right? You are supposed to learn basics of machine learning and deep learning. You are supposed to have basics of NLP and computer vision. If you have all of these basics with you, you are good to go to learn anything in generative AI. You can easily make sense out of what generative AI is. Apart from that, what we also discussed was, we discussed about what is AI and how is this AI related to ML and DL. You remember that? We discussed about AI, ML, and DL. We understood that AI is nothing but mimicking natural intelligence. Right? The tasks which can be done by mimicking natural intelligence, all those tasks comes under AI tasks. For example, you remember the tasks I showed you earlier? I showed you a task of identifying whether an email is a ham or spam. Email is a spam or not. I discussed about a example where given a house, can you predict the price of the house? I discussed about an example where given an image of a face, can your model identify whether it is you or not you? In case if it is you, it will unlock your phone. Otherwise, it will keep your phone locked. Mimicking means imitating. All right. Mimicking means imitating, or mimicking means nothing but copying what natural intelligence, what you can do with natural intelligence. If you can do it with a machine-made, man-made intelligence, you'll call that intelligence as an AI or artificial intelligence. Does that make sense? Now, after this, what we learned was, anyone who can tell me what was the next topic we learned in the last session? After learning about this, what did we learn about what did we learn in the last session? We learned about what is classification. And we learned the differences between classification and regression. And these are the two tasks which are from the classical MLDL tasks. They are the classical MLDL tasks. Yes or no? Are you all able to understand? Guys, are you all able to understand this? Yes, perfect. Now, can you please tell me, out of these three tasks, task number 1, 2, and 3, which task comes under classification and which task comes under regression? Which task comes under classification and which one comes under regression out of these three tasks? All right, email classification 1 and 3 comes under what? Perfect. If you focus here, task number 1 and task number 3, they both are the examples of classification, whereas task number 2 is an example of regression. Because if you focus here, the output that you are predicting, the output here belongs to a real value, whereas over here, the output belongs to a categorical value, right? It is a set of categories which can be the outcome from the model. Since the output is a categorical here and here, they both comes under classification. They both come under classification. Whereas if the output is a real continuous value, it comes under regression. Is that making sense now? What was the next topic we discussed in the last session? What is the next topic we discussed in the last session? Anyone? We discussed about what is generative AI. Yeah, right? When I say what is generative AI, we discussed this part in the last session. We discussed that generative AI is nothing but a subdomain of AI where the model is tasked to generate human-like text, images, audios, and videos. Right? In simple terms, what do I mean by that? The model is going to take the input and the output from the model will be either text output, it can be an image output, it can be an audio or a speech output, it can be something like what do you call video output. Guys, are you all able to understand this? Now, apart from this, I told you few applications which are very popular when it comes to generative AI. Generative AI actually solved lots of problems, but I'm trying to show you few problems which are very, very popular in the market, in the industry right now, as of June 2024. The two things that I've written over here are text output and image output. I'm talking about text output and image output based models. Do you agree whenever you are writing an email on Gmail, whenever you are writing an email to somebody on Gmail, what happens? Let's say you are trying to say, thank you. It will automatically start auto-completing your sentences. Have you ever noticed that? In Gmail, it will automatically start auto-completing your sentences. So if it is auto-completing your sentences, is it auto-completing the sentences using a categorical output? Or is it auto-completing based upon the numerical output or text output? What kind of an output will there be? A text output, right? So I can say that this comes under nothing but generative AI application. Google's autocomplete is a very nice, simple example of autocomplete of generative AI. Similarly, we also studied about something called as language translation. What is the meaning of language translation? What is the meaning of language translation? Anyone? What is the meaning of language translation? That's okay. Google Translate, text to text. But what is the meaning of language translation? Can I say language translation means translating or converting one language to another language? For example, English to Hindi. Pass English text to a model. Model will give you Hindi text. So what kind of a model do you need in order to do that? In order to perform this kind of an activity, you need something called as a generative AI model again. Making sense? Making sense? Yes or no? Perfect. What about the next example? The next example is code crafting. What is the meaning of code crafting? And for language translation, one of the big examples is Google Translate. Right? One of the examples is Google Translate. What about code crafting? What do you know about code crafting? What is the meaning of code crafting? Yes, GitHub's Copilot, right? I'm talking about GitHub's Copilot. What GitHub's Copilot do is it will generate code in any programming language. In any programming language. Right? So this is again one of the good examples. Given a comment, your model can generate programming, right? Any program or any code for you. So again, what is this example? This is an example of generative AI, text generation models. Code is nothing but the text, right? Finally, content creation. Can you please tell me any examples of content creation? Any examples of content creation? Chat GPT, perfect. Chat GPT is a very prominent examples of content creation. Given any input to the chat GPT, it can generate the content for you. Gemini is a very good example. Claude is a very good example. Correct me. Llama is a very good example. Correct, Bhaskar. Everybody has given one new LLM here or one new generative AI model here. Perplexity is there. Yes, there are many models available out there. Now, when you say GPT, can you tell me which company has created this model? Which company has created this model? Yes, the company name is OpenAI. Everybody knows that, right? Everybody knows about OpenAI company, and this OpenAI company has created a model called as GPT. When I say Gemini is created by a company called as Google. Llama is created by a company called as Meta. What are these models capable of? Are these models capable of generating text, images, audio, or video? What are these models capable of? All these models are capable of generating text. Correct. Similarly, do we have image generation models? Yes, we do have image generation models. Image generation models like DALL-E. You remember, you know which company has created DALL-E? OpenAI again has created DALL-E. Google has created something called as ImageGen, and Stability AI has created one of the state-of-the-art models called as Stable Diffusion, which is open source and openly available for everyone. Is this making sense to all? All right. Now, before we move forward to the next slide, I want to tell you one very interesting fact here. You remember the company called as OpenAI? You remember one of the companies called as OpenAI? Yes. You know, OpenAI is a company which has almost all the generative AI models. They have created already all the generative AI models that are capable of generating text, generating images, generating audio, generating video. Can you tell me what is the name of model that can generate text from OpenAI? What is the name of model that can generate text from OpenAI? GPT. The name of model is GPT. You must have heard of GPT 3.5. You must have heard of GPT-4, GPT-4o. All these models are nothing but models which are capable of generating output, which is text in nature. They are text generating models. Perfect. Yes, that is correct, Keshav. What is the image generation model? What is the image generation model from the company called as OpenAI? What is the image generation model from company called as OpenAI? No, GPT-4 cannot generate images. It can only generate the text data. If you have to generate images, you have to use another model which is called as DALLE, DALL-E. All right. So this model actually helps you generate the images. Image Gen is from Google. From OpenAI company, what are the models? These are the models from OpenAI company. The reason why I'm talking about OpenAI is, can somebody tell me why am I only specifically focusing on OpenAI? What is the reason why am I only focusing on OpenAI? Because this is the only company which has generated these many models, and they are the forefront of generative AI technology, the biggest player in the generative AI technology. Are you getting this now? Is everybody able to understand this? Similarly, when I say video, can you tell me what is the name of the model which can do video generation? They came up with another model called as SORA, a model that can actually generate videos given any input. All right. So, you know, this model, like you just have to describe the scene. It can create that video scene for you. Are you getting this idea? Now, the question is, do they have any audio-based model as well? Do they have audio-based model as? See, I'm not comparing various models. I'm not saying Claude is better than GPT or Gemini is better than GPT or Claude. I'm not doing that comparison here. That comparison depends actually on various different factors. What are you comparing it on? Are you comparing it on based upon the reasoning capability of the models? Or are you comparing the two models based upon its code generation capability? Or are you comparing the it depends upon various different evaluation mechanisms, as well as various different components, or various different ways to compare the models are there. So that can lead to a very big discussion. Let's not do that. All right. So some people, they'll try to compare the models only on 2 to 3 things. Yes, WaveNet is there, but I'm talking about OpenAI. Okay, let me try to tell you. There is a model called as TTS. There is a model called as TTS. You know the full form of TTS? The full form of TTS is text to speech. Text to speech model. Even this is one of the models which is created by OpenAI. All right, this is also one of the models that is created by OpenAI, and this model has a good capability of generating any speech type of output given any text input to the model. Everybody understood this? Can everyone remember the names that I just showed you? We can't say that. We can't say that. Maybe their state-of-the-art model or the best possible model is already out there. Or maybe this is their state-of-the-art model, or they might be currently working on that state-of-the-art model. That is completely a proprietary information, and nobody likes sharing that information as a company, right? And we don't know the truth behind that as well. That is also one of the things we have to understand. I hope that makes sense. All right. So now let me ask you one question. If you try to see any of these models, if you try to observe any of these models, there are models for various different scenarios. Let's say you want text output. You can use models like GPT 3.5, GPT-4, GPT 4.0, any of these models. If you want an output which should be a image, you can use something like DALL-E. If you want the output which is like audio, you can use model like TTS. If you want a model which can output videos, you can use a model. You can use a generative AI model like SORA. But the question is, how to build these models? How to build these models? You remember I told you that there exists something called as classical machine learning and deep learning tasks, like classification and regression. You remember that? And when we say that we have to build a model like this, when I say that we have to build a model like this, a model that can actually classify whether a given input is a spam or not spam, this model has to definitely see, this model is trying to make a prediction based upon something it must have learned. Now, the question is, when will this model learn, or how will this model learn? This model is going to learn based upon the concepts that you study in machine learning. Machine learning is all about making machines learn from the experiences from the data. You know what you will do? You'll take maybe thousands and thousands of emails. You'll take thousands and thousands of email, maybe thousands of email. You will also label these emails as whether this email is a spam or is it a not spam. Is it a spam or is it a not spam? All right, you'll label all these emails, and this data is going to be passed to one of the machine learning algorithms or deep learning algorithms, an algorithm that will generate a model for. You know what this model will learn? This model will learn a pattern. This model will learn a relationship between what kind of emails are spam, what kind of emails are not spam. Guys, are you all able to understand this? Everybody is able to understand this? Similarly, if I have to build this kind of a model, what will I do? I'll take a lot of houses. I'll take a lot of house, maybe I'll collect the data for various different houses. All right, I'll collect data for various different houses, maybe tens of thousands of houses, and I'll try to also utilize the help of maybe some of the subject matter experts, real estate agents, who knows the property price, who knows the price of property one, who knows the price of this property two, who knows the price of all these properties. And where will I feed all this data? I'll feed all this data to one of the machine learning algorithms, and this algorithm will be responsible to generate a model that can understand the price of the property given a house. Given a property, it should be able to tell the price of that property. Yes, this is called as supervised learning algorithms. These algorithms are named like mainly called as supervised learning algorithms. Guys, are you all able to understand it? Now, this model, whatever you see here, this model can be used. This model can be used in order to make prediction of any unseen house. Given a house, this model will be capable to make a prediction. But the idea is how to create this model. Can you please tell me what are the two main components that you see that helps us build these models? What are the two major components that helps us build these models? What do you think is required to build these models? Do you see that we need something called as, what is this? Or what is this purple shaded region? What is this? This is data, right? You need the data. First thing is, we definitely need lots and lots of data. Lots of data. Second thing, what else do you need? What else do you need? Apart from data, what else do you need? You need some algorithm that can actually help generate the model, right? You need to know some algorithm that can help generate these models. Are you all able to understand this? Yes or no? And maybe the third thing you can say is you should be able to define the type of task. For example, in this situation, the type of task this algorithm should solve should be regression task. It should be a regression task. Whereas in this case, the type of task I want my algorithm to solve is classification task. Are you all getting this? Because in the right-hand side example, the output is categorical. Whereas in this example, the output is numerical. So my algorithm should solve a regression task rather than solving a classification task for the house price prediction. Right? So these are the three things I need to know in order to make sure I build this model, a model that can make a effective prediction for us. How many of you, I think many of you mentioned that you have intermediate knowledge of machine learning. Have you ever built a model like this? Have you ever built a model like this? Yes or no? If you have already built a model like this, can you please tell me what kind of a case study have you solved? Have you solved house price prediction kind of a case study? Or have you solved ham spam prediction kind of a case study? Or have you solved, or all right, customer churn? All right, you have solved customer churn. You have solved house price prediction, phishing detection. All right, flight price prediction. Perfect. So at least you have solved some case studies, right? How much time does it take to solve these case studies? No, it is not wine prediction. It is wine quality prediction, right? It is wine quality prediction, not wine prediction. Agriculture prediction as in what? What did you predict in agricultural domain? 2 to 3 days. All right. So somebody mentioned that it took 6 hours. Somebody mentioned that it took 2 to 3 days. How much time did it consume for you to get a model or solve this entire case study? The case studies that you have been mentioning, 1 hour, that is really good. 2 days, perfect. But you know what is the problem with generative AI? The models which are created by this company called as OpenAI, you know, there was a research done by some people based upon that article, some article I read based upon some research done by some people. If you have to create on your computer, on your home computer, let's say you have to build a model which is called as GPT-3 or GPT-2 model. I'm not even considering the state-of-art models that they have right now. I'm talking about the models which were earlier, which were built earlier by them, like GPT-2 model. What do you need in order to build this model? Do you agree you need lots of data? Do you agree that you need lots and lots of data, right? You know how much time will it take for create a model like this, like a GPT model? You need to have an algorithm here on the computer. You need to define a task, right? And feed a lot of data to this algorithm and solve this task. In order to solve it using your home computer, your computer will take up to 355 years to come up with a model like a GPT-2 model. Less time or more time? What do you think about it? It is way more time, right? You can't even spend 355 years, right? It is not even in a single human's lifespan. Yes, more than 3 generations, right? It's like more than 3 generations. Any other alternative? Yes, we are going to talk about the solution. You see, I just told you how do you create the generative AI model? Can you please tell me how do we create a generative AI model? Yes, tech tester. Can you please rename yourself if possible, so that it won't be rude for me to take a name like tech tester. Instead, I'll be able to. You are not able to do that. That's okay then. Cool. So do you all agree that we have to use, like in order to create a generative AI model? Okay, thank you so much for that, Krishna. Guys, are you all able to understand that we need huge amounts of data? We need a good algorithm, right? To generate a model, we also need to tell this algorithm what kind of a task you should solve. And what did I just tell you? I told you that this entire thing is going to take huge. This entire process is going to take huge amount of time. And in case of GPT-2, it was published that it will take up to 355 years. Yes, correct, Sanjeeva Reddy. That is absolutely correct. But let me try to boil down, water down this problem statement for us to make us easy, like to make it easy for us to understand. Can we do that? Can we all do that? Can you tell me what is the problem that we see in this approach? What is the problem that you all see in this approach? Can you give a single word answer to that? Hardware issue, time. Perfect. Do you agree this is a big problem? Isn't it a big problem? Yes or no? It is a big major problem. You require a lot of time and you require a lot of memory in order to build a model like GPT-2. What is the solution to it? What is the solution to it? What is the solution to it? Some of you were saying GPUs, supercomputers, good hardware, cloud computing. Let me water it down to a very simple solution. Why to create that much big server to solve a simple? I'm not talking about a simple solution now, right? I'm talking about complex solutions like generating the text data. If you have to generate the text data, you can't solve the solution using a simple problem using a simple solution, right? Are you getting this? I'm not talking about solving a simple problem. I'm talking about the problems like this, generating text, solving these kind of problems, solving these kind of problems. How do you solve these kind of problems? For that, you definitely require a lot of time and memory. You have to have a lot of time, somewhere around 300, 200, 300, 400 years to wait to build a model. The solution is simple. You put a lot of money. Don't you think whatever solutions you are suggesting, solutions like GPUs, solution like better hardware, supercomputer, don't you think all of this can be done if you have lots of money? Yes. You remember one of the models I told you earlier about image generation? One of the models I told you about image generation by Stability AI called as Stable Diffusion. You know how much money they spent in order to build this model? They've spent $600,000 in order to build this model. Are you all able to understand this? Right. So definitely you have to have huge amounts of money in order to solve the problems that I'm discussing over here. All right. So this is a simple roadmap. We have discussed about this simple roadmap in the last session as well. The roadmap is nothing but you try to understand, first of all, what generative AI is. Try to understand various different models that you can create using generative AI. One of the models are large language models. Another models are called as diffusion models that can be generated. And how to generate these models, you have to learn about that in case if you are planning to learn generative AI. The third technology or the third thing, the third topic that you have to study is something called as prompt engineering. You must have heard about prompt engineering, and the reason why people are crazy about prompt engineering, because it is a simple thing to sell. This is a very simple thing that you can learn. Even if you are non-technical, you can easily learn prompt engineering, and you can start doing a lot of effective things using that prompt engineering technique that you study. Super duper easy, nothing very hard. The next thing is there is something called as retrieval augmentation generation. Like this is one of the popular architecture that is used to build some of the very popular applications. There is also one very important thing called as fine tuning. Fine tuning LLMs also gives you a very good way of generating or to create very powerful applications. And in order to do any of these things, there was one library introduced called as LangChain library, which is right now very popular, like in unifying the development of generative AI application. Not just development, it also gives you ways to deploy the application. All right. Apart from that, if let's say nothing helps you, whatever you study over here, nothing helps you, then you have to start looking into maybe creating generative AI models from scratch. In case if any of these things what I've mentioned here is not helping you, in that case, you can build generative AI models from scratch as well. But again, in order to create generative AI models from scratch, what do you need? You need lots of time, right? Lots of time and memory. And if you want to solve this problem of lots of time and memory, what is the only thing that can solve this? Money. A lot of money is required in order to solve this problem, if you have to really build generative AI models from scratch. And since it requires a lot of money to build generative AI models from scratch, can you tell me, is this a good idea as a fresher, as a person who is starting to learn to use generative AI technology? No, right? So what is a good idea? The good idea is there are many companies out there like OpenAI, Meta, Google, Anthropic, and many more companies like Mistral, Cohere. There are many companies out there, and these companies, what they have done is they have created very large models, generative AI models for us. They have created generative AI models for us. These are the companies. These companies, they don't have any problems with money, right? They have huge money, right? They have lots of money, and they have spent this money in order to build a very, they have spent this money in order to build really nice generative AI models for us. Models like, you remember GPT 3.5 or GPT 4.0. You remember there was another model called as DALLE. There was another model called as TTS, right? There is another model called as SORA. I'll tell you one more model, the last model from them, called as Whisper. Can you tell me what this model does? What is the first model's capability? The first model's capability is to generate text. What is the second model's capability? The second model's capability is to generate images. They have taken lots and lots of image data and they have tried building a model called as DALL-E, which actually has a very good image generation capabilities. What is this model? This model is a simple like a text to speech model. It has the capability of generating speech. What about this model, Sora? This model has a capability to generate video. What about this model? This model is a unique model. You know what this model does? The model called as Whisper, it generates text. It generates text. It generates text. Text for what? Given an audio, it can help you generate text transcript of that audio. Transcript of that audio. Now, can you tell me what I would have used in order to solve the problem statement that I showed you in the beginning? I showed you a Jupyter notebook where I summarized the entire lecture, last lecture. Which model I must have used to summarize the entire lecture? Whisper, correct. All right. So the model that I've used in order to summarize the entire lecture was Whisper. Whisper model. What should I pass to this Whisper model? Can you please tell me what should I pass to this Whisper model? You remember the audio or the media file? Yes. Audio file must be passed. And what will be the output of this model called as Whisper? What will be the text? Text what? Can I say text transcript? Can I say text transcript? Yes. Now, tell me one more thing. Are we done summarizing the lecture with this part? Or is there something else required? No. There is one more thing required, right? I need to take the text transcript. And where should I pass this text transcript? I need to generate text summary here, right? Text summary. Correct, man. Do you agree I need another generative AI model here? Which model has a capability of taking text and generating text? Which OpenAI model has the capability of taking text and generating text? GPT, right? So can I use a GPT 3.5 here to generate the text summary for myself? Yes, absolutely correct. And that is what I have done in order to create that entire project. Everybody understood that? Everybody understood this entire idea? Don't you think it looks super duper easy to build generative AI applications? And the answer to that is yes. Creating generative AI applications is very, very simple. All right, this is one of the simplest things in AI. But what people are doing, people are just making it very big, fancy thing. Now, there are some complex case studies also in generative AI. It is not always that easy to solve generative AI problems. All right, so the complex case studies, in order to understand them, you have to actually dig deeper into generative AI domain to make sense of those complex case studies, which are nothing but highlighting. I'm just highlighting them over here. And one more thing, GenAI on cloud. All right, this is also a little complicated for now. But remaining things, understanding the basics is super duper easy. Jasper AI, it was an application, Sonia. Can somebody remind me what Jasper AI is and what is GPU? Can somebody please answer that question from Sonia? GPU, you know what CPU is in a computer, Sonia? CPU is a central processing unit. GPU is a graphical processing unit in a computer, right? Jasper AI. Now, the second question is, what is Jasper AI? Jasper AI is an application, all right? It is an application, generative AI application that helps you in marketing domain. It helps you in the marketing domain. You remember ChatGPT is a generative AI application that is a conversational agent. Similarly, Jasper AI is another another application, generative AI application, which helps you in the marketing. Which helps in the marketing solutions. It is a generative AI based application. Okay. Perfect. So what did I just mention? Can you please tell me the last part that I was mentioning before taking up this question on GPU and Jasper AI? I told you that this part. Do you see this part? the initial 3 points in the roadmap of generative AI. How will you rate the difficulty level of these 3 topics? How will you rate the difficulty level of these 3 topics? If you want, I can share that, Pratik. That is not a problem. Yes, these topics are super easy. I should not just say easy. They are super, super, super duper easy. But when we talk about these remaining topics, what about the remaining topics? They are little difficult. I won't say very difficult. They are a little difficult because see, there must be some difficulty level to the things that you do. Otherwise, other people will take up your job, right? Right? So this will be a little challenging, a little difficult. But given that you have an aptitude or you have a you are interested in learning the technology, nothing will be difficult for you because you'll be ready to spend that time and energy to understand the new topics. Did that make sense to all of you? Can we now look into the implementation of this generative AI model? The application that I just discussed about. So what is this application? How can you describe the application that is going to be solved using this entire thing? How do you describe this application? Can I say this is like summarizing the lectures or summarizing the entire video or audio, right? This is like a video summarizer, video or a audio summarizer. And is it useful or not? What do you think about that? Is it a useful application? Definitely useful, right? Just think about it in this way. You must be maybe a college graduate, right? You must be having maybe lots and lots of maybe lectures on your online portals like LMS. Maybe 2 hour long lectures might be there on your LMS. What you can do without going through the lectures yourself manually, you can simply pass those lectures to some application that you can build using generative AI technology, and you can summarize, you can compress that entire lecture into a small summary, right? Without even going through the entire lecture, you can simply summarize it within no time. Are you all getting this idea, right? So this is a very powerful application that you can create. And if you can market it properly, you can have a really good sales also for this kind of an application. All right. So how much time it took me to create this application? I think hardly 20-30 minutes I took in order to create this entire application. Yesterday in the evening, I was planning to discuss some application for your lecture today. Then I thought that why not create something like this, which will also be meaningful and helpful for all of you. So let me now try to show you the code, walk you through the code for this entire application step by step. Can we all do that now? All right. Before getting into the code, I hope you saw the scanner. Somebody asked me to show the scanner. Let me try to tell you something important. Yes, I'm coming to that. I'm coming to that. What was the action plan I told you? That is impossible nowadays to find, Govardhan. If you are smart enough, if you can plan it like properly, nobody can tell whether the code is written by a chat GPT or a human. But the problem is, it's not just writing the simple solution. Sometimes, see, building properly, like fully functional distributed software applications in programming languages, that is a very difficult thing to do. It is not that easy to build a software application, even in the era where ChatGPT is there. All right. So if you are a software engineer or a data scientist who know how to solve a problem statement, your job will never go away. For sure, your job will never ever go away. But if you are a person who is simply relying on chat GPT to answer each and every single problem you are facing, then definitely there is a very high chance that because you are not having that aptitude of solving the problems yourself, right? So your job can be replaced easily by chat GPT. How is ChatGPT different from Meta AI? A new update on WhatsApp. See, Meta AI, you remember I told you what is the name of the model, that generative AI model that is created by Meta? Llama, right? Llama is the name of model. The version of Llama that they have created in like recently is called as Llama 3. Can you tell me the name of model that is created by OpenAI? The most recent model that is created by OpenAI? GPT-4o or GPT-4, right? GPT-4, GPT-4 or GPT 3.5, right? 3.5 or 4 or 4o. Can you tell me what are these? What are these? These are companies, right? Instead of Meta, let me call it as Meta AI so that it will be easy for you to understand. Meta AI, OpenAI. All right. These are the name of companies. What is this? What is this that you see here? Are these models, or should I say generative AI models? What should I say? Models or generative AI models? Generative AI models. Generative AI models. Can I say generative AI models that must have taken a lot of money for these companies to build? Yes. Must have taken a lot of money and resources to build. Now, my next question is, have you seen recently on WhatsApp, there is this icon that started appearing? Yes. What is that? What is that? The icon that started appearing on WhatsApp? Bolo, what is this icon that started appearing on WhatsApp? Yes. Can you please open your WhatsApp right now? Can you open your WhatsApp right now and click on that icon and tell me which model they are using underneath, which AI model, generative AI model they are using underneath in order to make it work? Yes. It is powered by, they have mentioned it is powered by Llama 3. Now, are you getting it? Are you getting this idea? See, this is an application. This is an app built by Meta AI, which is powered by what? Powered by GenAI, generative AI model. Are you getting it? If you do not see, if you are using an Android, you'll be able to find it on the right corner, right bottom corner. If you are using an Apple device, you'll be able to find it on the top of your screen, on the WhatsApp, top of the screen of on the WhatsApp. If you can't see it anywhere, you have to update your WhatsApp. Are you all able to understand this? Yes, for text generation. Which company has created this? Which company has created this? Meta AI, right? The company which has created this is Meta AI. There is another product called as Chat GPT. Have you ever heard of a product called as Chat GPT? Everybody must be using it, right? Already everybody must be using it. Which company has created Chat GPT? Which company has created Chat GPT? OpenAI has created Chat GPT. Can you open your Chat GPT and tell me whether you see somewhere, like it will also say somewhere powered by some model, some generative AI model. Which model is it getting powered from? Which model is it getting powered from? Anyone who can quickly figure it out and tell me that. GPT-4o, right? GPT-4o. Now, are you now able to make sense? Again, another application which is powered by generative AI. Are you now able to connect the dots on this entire landscape of generative AI? There are companies which have spent billions, millions of dollars in order to create generative AI models. And these models are helping power various different applications nowadays. Everybody understood it? See, the main purpose of Meta AI must be to provide these models, right? Gen AI models as open source. You know, the best part about Meta is they have open sourced this model. You know that? You don't have to pay anything to use this model. You know that? Whereas when we talk about OpenAI, you know what is the problem? What is the difference between OpenAI's generative AI model versus Meta's generative AI model? These are paid models. These are paid models. Are you all getting this? See, that depends, Raza, that depends whether they really see. If you are on a free version of Chat GPT, then definitely they must be collecting your data and using it to train their models. If you are using a paid version, maybe then the experience might be a little more restricted from their end. They should not be able to like collect. You must be having much better control over your Chat GPT application and Meta AI applications in that scenario. Are you getting it? Right? If you are using something for free, definitely they'll be taking something out from you. Right? So what is that? You have to figure it out. Maybe in this case, your data, your conversation. You might be generating data for them. So that must be something which is more crucial for them. Any questions so far? Are you all able to understand this part? Everybody, are you all able to understand this part? All right. So what is the action plan now? Can you please tell me what is the action plan now? How to use Llama 3 for free? That is something we typically cover in our course, Vivek. That will be covered as a part of our course. How to use something for free, like how to do that. It requires a lot of understanding of various different libraries like Hugging Face. There is a library called as Hugging Face, which if you know how to use, you'll be able to learn how to use Llama 3 as well. All right. Apart from that, it is not just about using Llama 3. It is also about like how do you deploy a Llama 3 model? Because Llama 3 model is a very heavy model. Like if you talk about a Llama 3 model, it takes somewhere around 8 GB of space on your computer. Right. So are you really ready to maybe put 8 GBs of, or are you really ready to maybe consume 8 GB of space on a cloud device? It will be very costly, right? So how do you effectively do that? That is also something that you need to learn as a generative AI engineer. And that part we cover as a part of our course. How about hiring supercomputers for building power-hungry models? See, again, if you hire supercomputers or if you rent, let me say rent supercomputers to build power-hungry models, it is going to definitely cost a lot, right? It is definitely going to cost a lot. How much? That depends upon the provider, the person or the company that is providing you the access to their supercomputers. Yes, correct, Avinash. Correct. And that too only for 8 billion parameter model, right? What if you want to go beyond the 8 billion parameter model? 8 billion parameter model is not the biggest model, right? There are many more bigger parameters, number of parameter, like in hundreds, you have bigger models as well. All right, so can we move into the implementation part now? How do we use generative AI in smart agriculture? First of all, you need to think about the application that you can solve. And that application, is it really going to require generative AI or can it be solved without the help of generative AI? You have to figure it out first. If you can figure that out, then maybe implementing a solution can be very easy. First, you have to identify the problem and then you have to think about like whether or what kind of a solution can be applied on that problem. Yes, can we now start with that? I think people, since we all are very interested in generative AI, there are so many questions getting asked about how these things work. But in order to learn all these things, there is a learning curve, guys. Please understand that in a single session, you can't learn all of generative AI. All right. I've already done 2 hours of session. This is another 2 hours of session. And then now I believe most of you might be able to make sense out of what needs to be done. Now, what is the action plan? Can you please tell me that? What is the action plan? I need to have some audio files. Audio files must go to some model. And this model must be able to do what? Can you please tell me? This model should be able to generate a transcript of these audio files. Do we know any model name that can be used here? Do we know a model name that can be used here? We know that there exists a model called as Whisper, which can be used here. All right. The model name is Whisper, which can be used here. Do we know the provider of this model? Do we know the company which provides this model? OpenAI. Perfect. Let me try to note it down here as well. I know that my solution exists somewhere in OpenAI. OpenAI is Whisper. Similarly, what about the next step? The next step is I must take the transcripts. I must take the transcripts, and these transcripts must be passed to what? These transcripts must be passed to another model. Another model, a model that must be able to do something called as summarization for me. 5-point summary for me. What kind of a model can I use here? What kind of a model can I use here? Can I use GPT? Yes, I can use GPT. Which company provides GPT? OpenAI provides GPT. Is there any other choice here? Do we have any other choice here? We have Llama as well. You remember the benefit of using Llama? A company called as Meta provides Llama. And the benefit of using Llama is it can be used for free. Are you all getting this? But this is something I won't cover as a part of this session. I won't be getting into the discussion of how to use Llama. Instead, I'll help you understand for today how to use OpenAI to build this entire solution. What is the only problem with OpenAI? What is the only problem with OpenAI? The only problem with OpenAI is it is paid. But please try to understand that you are building a solution, right? A solution that can make you more money, right? You are building a solution that can make you more money. So definitely paying some amount is okay, is completely fine. If you have to solve this for free, don't you think you have to build this model yourself as well as this model yourself? If you really have to build this model yourself, you will require even more money, right? If you want to build this model yourself, if you want to build this yourself, you need tons of money, lots of money. Are you all able to understand this? Now, in order to use these models, which website should I visit? Which website should I visit in order to solve this problem statement? I need to go through OpenAI's website and see whether they offer me something so that I can use it, isn't it? Yes, OpenAI website. So can we do that practical now? Yes, I'll come to that. Can we do that practical? Let's try to do it. It is super duper easy. Let me just show you very quickly how to do that. Let me know once my screen is visible. All right. Thank you so much, Madhavi. Is it visible to all of you? I hope it is visible. All right. So let's try to go further into the discussion. What will I do first? I have to go to something called as, see, tell me one thing. Am I using Chat GPT, or am I going to use OpenAI for development purposes? Their company's models, I want to use them as a developer, or should I use that just like Chat GPT? I have to use it as a developer, right? So let me first go to openai.com. All right, let me go to openai.com. All right, I think it's taking time to load. Is the page visible to all of you? We have to code. I'll show you how much you have to code, man. All right, the coding part will be less if you have to build the model the way I'm showing you right now. But it can also become very complex very soon if you have to build very complex models or complex applications, let's say, if you have to build. In that case, you have to write a lot of code as well. It's not like that every time you are going to write a very small amount of code, you might end up writing a lot of code as well, depends upon the requirement. All right. Now, what do you see here? Let me not worry about like opening this website. There must be a glitch or something on their end. But at least as of now, do you see their latest advancements? They are talking about something called as GPT-4, DALI 3, Sora. What are all these three things? What are all these three things, their latest advancements? These are the name of models, generative AI models they have created. The first model is for the text generation. The second model is for the image generation. And the third model is for the video generation. Let me right click on the video generation model and open it up in the new text, in the new window. What do you see here? They are saying create video from the text input. See, and whatever you see in the background, what do you think about the background video? What do you think about the background video? Is it looking like a very nice video? See, there are so many trees and there are shadows and many more details in the video, isn't it? You know, this video was created by the model called as Sora. This is not generated. This is not created by some video editor. This is created by a model called as Sora. This kind of a highly detailed video has been created by the model called as Sora. And there are many more things you can do on top of it. But they have not released it properly for the use by the public. As soon as it gets released, maybe we'll try to discuss about how to use Sora as well. But for now, let's try to fall back and try to have a look into something more important. Now, if you want to do development, you have to always find the API part. Let me go to platform overview. All right. And let's try to basically start building. Or what you can also do is you can go to a website called as platform.openai.com. Either you can go here or you can click on start building. It will also open the same page, platform.openai.com. Is that making sense to all? Right? In order to use their models, you have to go to this website, platform.openai.com. Let me try to go there by hitting enter over here. Now, the next thing you have to do, everybody understood what needs to be done first? Everybody understood what needs to be done first? Once you land on this website, the second thing you have to do is you have to make sure that you are logged in. Am I logged in? Yes or no? What do you think about my account? Am I logged into this platform? Yes, I am logged in. You have to make sure that you also log in once you open up this account, once you open up this page. By the way, I think if you do not log in, they won't show you this dashboard. This dashboard won't be visible if you do not log in. But in any case, please make sure you log in. Once you are logged in, then what you have to do is you have to go to something called as usage. All right, you have to go to something called as usage, and you have to check whether whether there exists something called as, do you have any money or do you have any free limits available on your OpenAI platform. On the right hand side, you can see if there exists any free limit for you or not. Is there any limit for me? Like if the free limit exists, that is really good. If the free limit is not there, you have to pay for it. All right. So I have paid for it to make sure that I can run this experiment for you. And if you see, yesterday only, I have spent somewhere around $1 in order to run that experiment that I showed you in the beginning of the session. All right. So it took $1 of money, like $1 to run that entire thing, to create the transcripts as well as to create the summaries. All right. This is what you can see. You have to keep, it is like a wallet. Like as a wallet, you simply put some money in it. After putting some money, I think minimum you can put in the wallet is $5. You just try to see how much you can keep in at minimum. Yes, only that Jupyter notebook costed $1, like not exactly $1.1. It is somewhere around, I think, $0.89. Can you tell me which model is more expensive? Is Whisper more expensive or GPT more expensive? I am just hovering over this. Can you tell me which model is more expensive? Is GPT more expensive or the Whisper is more expensive? Whisper, right? The audio model, it consumed $0.87, whereas the GPT 3.5 model, it consumes only $0.02, right? So definitely Whisper is going to be way too expensive because you are giving more complicated speech data to it, right? It is not like text to text, it is like speech to text. So it will take definitely more money for you to run that model, right? But in any case, I hope you are able to understand like what happened. This is for yesterday, 28th June. This is the cost of running OpenAI on my system. Now, can we see what is the next thing we have to do once you have bought the usage from OpenAI? Once you have paid maybe $5 minimum amount, you will be able to see this kind of a dashboard. Otherwise, it won't be visible properly to you. It will simply ask you to pay some amount to start using their models, because definitely it took a lot of money for them to create these models. Why will they give that model for free to you, right? Or to me? They will definitely ask for money in case if we have to start using those models, because it is not that simple that like economical to like keep these models up and running on their servers. The next thing, are we all ready for the next step? Are you all ready for the next step? Once you are done buying maybe $5 or paying for $5 or the minimum amount to them, you'll be able to use OpenAI to build your applications that are powered by generative AI from OpenAI company. Let me click on API key. The next thing you have to do is you have to click on create new secret key. Guys, are you all able to see this? You have to click on create new secret key. And over here, you can simply name your key as whatever you want. Maybe I'll name my key as ABC. If I want, I can name it like ABC. And then I can click on what? I have to click on create secret key. If I click on create secret key, it will give me a secret key. Do you see this? Please make sure you copy this. If you do not copy this, this will be wasted. The key will be wasted. This is a key to the OpenAI. All right. The same way you have a key for your home, right? In order to enter your home, you need the key. Similarly, this is a key that will be used to enter any of the models like Whisper or GPT 3.5. In order to enter those models, in order to use those models, you need to generate a key. Is everybody able to understand the concept of a key or generating this key? You need this key. This is like a key to enter the home of OpenAI. All right. So I have to copy this key. All right. Make sure you copy this key. After copying this key, do you see a folder I have created over here called as keys? I've created a folder here called as keys. You open this folder and try to paste, create a text file. Create a text file. Let's call it as open AI key. And within this text file, you can paste your key. All right. So what you can do, you can just copy this and you can paste it over here. Everybody understood this? Is everybody able to understand this? All right. Now, do you all agree that you have already seen this key? Yes. Whose key is this? Whose key is this? It is my key, right? But can you use this key for your development? Definitely you can use this key for your development. And if you use this key for your development, my account will get debited of money. All right. So what I'll do is I'll delete this key as well so that nobody uses this key to unnecessarily like it will create a big bill for me. I don't want to see that. So I deleted that key, but I've already created another key over here. All right. And that key has been saved inside this particular file for my consumption. Can we now get into how to consume this key and how to utilize the Whispers AI and GPT 3.5 model? Can we see how to enter the home of OpenAI to use all their models? Let's try to see that. What do you see in the top? What do you see in the top? What am I doing here? What do you see in the top? What do you think is this going to do? It is going to import OpenAI, right? A module called as OpenAI will be imported, and from that module, a class will also be imported. To use this, you have to say pip install OpenAI. In order to run this, you have to say pip install OpenAI. If you run this in your Jupyter notebook, it will simply install OpenAI on your system. All right, you have to simply say exclamation pip install OpenAI. It will simply install OpenAI for you. Let's wait for a second or two. Yes, see, requirement already satisfied. So no need to worry about that. It's already there on my system. The next thing I have to do is I have to import OpenAI. Once it has been installed, after installing it, I can simply import it. After importing it, can you tell me what is this statement doing? The statement that you see here, what is this doing? What is this statement doing after importing OpenAI? Do you see I am creating an object? Perfect, Jasmine. I am creating an object of OpenAI. While creating the object of OpenAI, what am I passing to this object? What am I passing to this object while creating the object of OpenAI? I am passing the key to this. And what is this code? What is this code helping me do? This code is simply helping me. This is first one is to import the OpenAI class. Can I say this code is helping me import the OpenAI class? Can I say that this code is helping me read the key from the text file? Right? It is simply helping me read the key from text file. Which variable is holding the key? After reading the text file, which variable is holding the key? Which variable is holding the key? Think about it again. The variable called as OpenAI API key, this variable is holding the key. You remember the key, that alphanumeric key that I created earlier? That key will be stored inside this variable as it is. What is F holding? What is F holding? F is holding it is a pointer to this text file. It is a pointer to the text file. And using this pointer to the text file, I'm reading the text file, and that content of the text file gets loaded inside OpenAI API key variable. The content of the file gets loaded into a variable called as OpenAI API key. Yes, F is a pointer to the text file, correct. Everybody understood the code? Yes or no? Right? I think you must have learned it in your Python programming classes, how to read a text file. And what is this? This is nothing but creating the object of OpenAI. What are we doing here? What are we doing here? I'm trying to simply say client, like OpenAI client, .models.list. It will give me the list of all the models that I can use. Can you tell me the name of first model? Can you tell me the name of first model? The first model's name is Whisper. Perfect. Let's try to go to the second model and see the name of it. Can you tell me the name of second model? Can you tell me the name of second model? Delhi. Perfect. Can you tell me the utility of this model, the second model? What it does? What Delhi does? It generates images. Very good. What about the next model? Can you tell me the utility of next model? What is this model and what is the utility of this next model? The next two models, by the way. The next two models are TTS models. What they do? They try to convert text to speech. Amazing. What about the next model? What is the next model? The next model is GPT 3.5 Turbo 1106. And remaining every model, if you see, if you focus here, if you see carefully, all the other model, they are nothing but GPT 3.5. Say later, almost all the models are GPT 4.0, and some other models are also there. We'll discuss about them maybe in some other discussion. Right? There are some embedding models as well, but let's not worry about those models. Every other model are nothing but GPT based model over here if you think about it carefully. And what is the last model? What is the last model? Do you know this model? Everybody knows this model. This is the model that attracted a lot of attention in the past one and a half month, right? You must have seen something about GPT-4o on the internet for sure. Is that clear to everyone? Like, these are all the models, the list of all the models that they have. You can use any model now because you have paid for it and you have a key to enter any one of these models. Any questions so far? In order to solve my project, which model am I supposed to use? Do you agree I am good with this model? Do you all agree that this model is good enough, right? Even this model is good enough. The first part can be solved with this model, whereas the second part can be solved using this GPT 3.5 model. Yes or no? Yes, perfect. So let's try to see how to do that. See, there is one small clause here. The Whisper model, it is limited to only take a file up to 25 MB. You can't take a file more than 25 MB. Now, I hope you can make sense out of why I have broken down my entire lecture, the last lecture, into 5 chunks. What might be the reason for breaking down the entire lecture into 5 chunks? What might be the reason now to break the lecture into 5 chunks? Yes, to reduce the file size to keep it less than 25 MBs. Because if it exceeds the file size increases 25 MBs, it will not be able to process. Whisper cannot process that file. So I've broken down that file into 25, to very small chunks so that the entire model works perfectly fine. How to do that? I don't want to get into that. That is a little software engineering challenge. I don't want you to understand that for now. If you are interested, please try to explore it yourself. What part? How did I break the file, the actual lecture file, into these 5 chunks? Please try to explore it yourself. Given that somebody has already split the entire lecture into 5 chunks or smaller chunks where each chunk is less than 25 MB. How do I work on it? This is what I'm going to show you now. Everybody understood the context here? Is everybody able to understand what I just mentioned? All right. So what is this part? What is this part? This is a function which will take what? Which will take an audio file. And what will it return? It will return, given an audio file, it will return the transcript. Everybody understood this? Given an audio file, it will return the transcript. What am I doing in order to use the Whisper model? This is the code I am using to use the Whisper model. Every time you have to use this. All right. If you can't remember it, all right, which nobody does, even I do not remember this code. You know what I do? I'll go to something called as API reference. You see this? On the dashboard, I also have something called as API reference. I'll go to this page. And over this page, what I want to learn, can you please remind me about that? Do you agree I want to learn about something called as models? Can we click on this? If I click on this, I'll be able to see all these things. Let me, instead of that, go to the documentation instead of API. There is a reason for that. I'll tell you that reason in a minute. But let's go to the document. And in this document, if you try to scroll down, you'll be able to see something called as list of models, right? These are all the list of models. Let me click on the models here. This is a new model, flagship model from ChatGPT. And if I scroll down, what do you see here? Are all these looking familiar? Are all these looking familiar? Which model am I supposed to learn how to use now? Which model am I supposed to learn how to use? Whisper. Let me try to right click on this and open it in the new tab. All right, it opened. Now it is saying, however, you can go through our API in order to learn how to utilize it. All right, so let's try to go through their API. Let's click on this, go through our API. Let's click on that. And this is a place where they have given a quick start guide. And this is a code they have shared with us. What do you think about this code? Don't you think this code looks exactly the way the code looks in my Jupyter notebook? I've copy pasted the code from there. This is how you read the documentation and take out whatever is important for you. All right, because I'm using OpenAI's library, right? So I don't know what all functions they have created. So I have to definitely read their documentation and understand how to implement each and every single thing in there from their library. And this is what I'm doing initially. I'm trying to simply copy paste the code from there, and I'm creating my own function here so that if somebody wants to generate the transcript, they don't need to worry about writing this code. They can simply utilize this function for every time, like whenever they have to generate a transcript from the audio file. Are you all able to make sense out of it? Now, how to consume this function? Do you see, in order to consume this function, I'm first reading the audio file. Do you see I'm first reading the audio file, and that audio file is getting passed. It is getting passed, or it is getting shared with this function. I'm trying to pass that audio file to this function. And what am I doing on the left-hand side? I'm trying to capture the transcript from the function in the variable. And that transcript is getting printed out here. I'm printing that transcript over here. See, this is a small chunk, but a lot of text data is there in this transcript. A lot of text data is there in this transcript. I think 20 minutes of transcript, 20 to 30 minutes of transcript, a very long text data is there. Reading through this text data is very difficult. So that is the reason why I created a small summary of this entire transcript. Everybody understood the idea here? Yes or no? Now, can we see how to create this summary? If the creation of transcript is making sense, can we now look into how to create the summary? Bolo, yes or no? Are you all able to understand till this point? If this is making sense, can we move ahead and get into the generation of summary? All right. Now, in order to generate the summary, which model are we supposed to use? Which model are we supposed to use? GPT 3.5? Yes. GPT 3.5. Where should I go in order to learn how to use that model? Can I go back to docs? Can I go back to docs and click on models? Yes. If I click on model, what do I see? I see the list of all the models here. Which model are we supposed to use? Which model are we supposed to use? GPT 3.5 Turbo. Can we click on this? If I click on this, right? If I click on this, it shows me the complete list of all these models. All right, all the models under GPT 3.5 Turbo, and they are saying that there is this API that you can learn how to use. Let's try to click on that. Let's try to click on that. And now over here on the right hand side, if you see, you have the entire code. Please focus on this code. All right. I want to use which model? I want to use the GPT 3.5 Turbo model, right? So let me click on that GPT 3.5 Turbo from here. I can use GPT 3.5, GPT-4, GPT-4o. I can use any model I want because I've already paid for it, right? I can use any of these models I want. Now, if I want to use GPT 3.5 Turbo, I just select that and copy this code from here, right? This is nothing but importing OpenAI, creating the client, and using this client. This is nothing but the API to use the model. I'll just copy this, all right? I'll just copy this, and I'll do what? I'll just paste it over here. All right, let me show you what I copied from there. This is what I copied. Is it looking exactly like this? Is it looking exactly like this, yes or no? Everybody is able to understand this, right? Guys, others, are you able to make sense out of it? I see only 3 to 4 people always replying back. I also at least request others to revert back so that I know that it is making sense to you. And may I know how will you rate yourself for this lecture so far? On a scale of 1 to 5, how do you think your understanding is, or how do you think I am explaining the entire lecture? Is it making sense to all? Yes. All right. 4, 5, 3.5. All right. See, in any case, even if you think that you are unable to understand anything, try to go back and look at the recording. Okay. By the end of this lecture, by evening, you will get the recording of this lecture. Please go through it and try to understand the lecture. All right. A very simple implementation. With this implementation, you can build a lot of interesting projects and you can come up with lots of interesting project ideas. All right. So please do that. All right, so what are we supposed to do? We are supposed to simply do what? We are supposed to simply utilize this function to solve the problem that we have. What is the problem we have? You see, I'm trying to create a function. Given a user input, try to reply back with something. And what is that? That something is nothing but the response. All right, that something is nothing but the response. What is this part? This part is copy pasted as it is from OpenAI. All All right. Paid version for chat. See, for GPT, paid version is important. It is necessary, it is important. Because without it, you can't implement. You remember where you can do the implementation free of cost? There is a free of cost implementation as well, right? The free of cost implementation, you remember? The free of cost implementation can be done on Llama. Using Llama, you can implement the same project free of cost. Yes. Right? Even Whisper is free of cost. I'm using Whisper from OpenAI. That's why it is costing me, but I can use Whisper free of cost as well. And that we'll discuss in the course that we have, if somebody is interested in that. All right. How to do this entire project free of cost. We'll try to see that during the course, because I can show you how to use Whisper also for free of cost without paying even a single cent to anyone. You can learn how to do that as well. But for that, you have to learn a lot of other background stuff as well. Now, what are we doing here? We are trying to pass a message saying that you are a helpful AI assistant for summarizing long text. Given a text by the user, I'm giving an instruction to it, right? I'm giving an instruction to my GPT that somebody is going to give us a long text to you. What you are supposed to do is you are supposed to take that long text and summarize it into 5 points. That is what GPT is supposed to do. GPT 3.5 Turbo is supposed to do. And if I do that, you'll see a wonderful thing happening. This entire text that was created by Whisper model, this can get converted into a summary, and that summary will be returned and printed over here with this particular function call. All right, this is how the summary looks like. See, instead of going through the entire lecture and spending 2 hours, you could have spent only 5 minutes on this summary, on this summary, on this summary, on this summary, and on this summary to go through the entire lecture yourself. Right? You can get the gist of the lecture, you can get the gist of the entire webinar just by creating these summaries. Yes. And I hope, Manish, you are able to see how easy it is to build, right? Right? So a lot of projects in generative AI can be built easily if you are willing to pay. But if you are unable, like if you do not want to pay even a single buck, in that case, there are free versions as well. And to understand how to use those free versions, we'll be covering that as a part of our curriculum during the generative AI course, which is starting from July 1st. Everybody understood the entire idea? See, please try to go through the recording. I would suggest you to go through the recording and implement it yourself. All right. Because while implementing, you'll get to understand a lot of concepts. All right. Otherwise, it won't make a lot of sense. So now I'm open for the questions. If you have any questions, please do ask me the questions. Any question? See, understanding how to implement it in the free version, it will take a lot of time. But I would suggest you to do one thing over here in case if you are really interested in that. I'll show you one thing that you can do. See, this is a GitHub repository. Everybody knows about GitHub, right? Is everybody aware of GitHub? What GitHub is? So almost all the notes, complex programs, everything related to data science is available on this repository. All right, go to GitHub and try to search for this repository. You'll be able to find it. Over here, if you see module 9 is a LLM generative AI module. If you try to click on this module, you'll be able to see a lot of code here. And over here, you'll be able to see Hugging Face tutorial series. This tutorial series will help you understand how to do the things for free of cost. All right, please go through it yourself and try to see how this can be done. The AI course, Generative AI course starts on 1st July. Yes, I'll be teaching that course. I'll be teaching that course end to end. That course will span for 6 weeks. And I need you to at least have the basic knowledge of machine learning and NLP to make sure that you understand everything that we discuss in that course. All right. Making sense? How can we do it in the collab free version? You can do that also in the collab free version. Raza, you try to use that same repository that I showed you. In that, whatever I've shown you in the Hugging Face implementation, that is actually done on collab. All right. So you can implement the same. You will be able to do it without paying anything to anyone. Yes. Thank you so much, Madhavi, for sharing the link. Guys, you can use the link that is posted in the chat section and you can go to that repo and utilize it. How much time it takes to learn generative AI for self? Lot of time. I would say maybe 5 months, 6 months. It can be anything. See, if you do not have somebody to guide you on generative AI, it can become very complex very soon. Trust me. See, whatever I've taught you right now, if there is somebody who has learned using their self-learning, if somebody has done, I can guarantee whatever we covered in the last 2 lectures, in the last 2 webinars, it will take you minimum 2 months to come to this level, whatever you know now, given that you have gone through these 2 lectures. Yes, Santosh, we'll be starting it on 1st July. It includes ML, DL, and GenAI. See, it includes GenAI only. If you are talking about the GenAI course, GenAI course is starting on 1st July, which will not include intensive ML, DL. It will only include the GenAI part. All right. Enrollment link. Shubham, somebody from my team is going to call you. You just try to talk to them in case if you are interested. Otherwise, if you want to call my team, I'll share the number on the screen. Just give me a second. You please take a screenshot so that you can call them yourself instead of waiting for a call from our end. Okay. Is my screen visible now? Is it visible now? I hope it must be visible now. Right. So you can see the number on the screen now. Please call this number in case if somebody is interested. If you have any other questions, please do ask the questions. I'll be waiting for another 1 or 2 minutes to answer these questions. In case if there are no questions, we can end the session for today. All right. So Krishna, do you have any questions? Keshav, do you have any questions? Mayank, in that case, I would suggest you to talk to my team at least. Try to see what you can do in that scenario. I'll definitely see first week of GenAI, I'll be talking about the basics of machine learning and deep learning. And post that only, we'll be starting the journey of GenAI. Now, if you think that you can actually make sense out of the entire thing within the 1 week, I would suggest you to go for GenAI. Otherwise, it will become a little difficult for you. You'll get your certificates by evening today. Any free classes? Yes, this is the free class, right? So in the last week also, we did the free class. Yes, the placement assistance will be there after the course. Internship will be next year, January. The next internship will be in the next year. All right. Yes, the people who take the generative AI course, they can also be a part of the next internship whenever it happens. Santosh, I would suggest you to talk to the counselor with whom you must have discussed about the course. They will be able to guide you about it. Okay. The present batches, you try to talk to your program manager. They'll be able to help you out. Is it online or offline? It is online. The course is going to be purely online, not offline, because generative AI is a new skill set, right? New skill set and the most demanding skill set right now in the AI domain. And because of that, a lot of people, not just from nearby regions, even outside, they want to scale up themselves in generative AI. So to make sure that everything can be easily done, we are trying to conduct this entire thing online instead of conducting it offline. All right.